Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Foulmouth Pinball Tutorials. I am Dennis B and today we're going to get stiff. Really stiff. As in scared stiff. As in Elvira in Scared Stiff. So at the time of recording this has not yet released for the At Games 4KP. It will be dropping in a couple of days on At Games, on Pinball FX, Pinball FX VR, and all that. So what we're seeing here is a version of the table on Visual Pinball. This is actually VPX standalone on the At Games 4KP. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to just get a jump on it, right? Take a look at the table, go through a tutorial on how to play it so that folks that are watching this, at the time of the drop, you'll know what to do before the game actually drops in a couple of days. And of course, if you're watching this later on, this applies to, what I'm going to go through will apply to any version of the game you're playing, just some basics of what to know about the table and some strategies as well. So, like I said, wanted to get a jump on this and hopefully you'll all learn something about this table and be ready to go when it drops. So one other note, given that this is Foulmouth Pinball Tutorials, if you're coming here expecting me to spend the entire time ogling Elvira and talking about her legs and her tits. Sorry to disappoint, but that's not something I'm going to be doing on this. This is about learning how to play pinball on this table, not about making a bunch of misogynistic comments about, tits and ass. Although, I will say, this game, let's be honest, this is just one long dick joke, the entire game, dick and sex joke. Throughout the call outs and throughout the game. So pretty much all of the Elvira tables are. So it is what it is. But anyway, just wanted to let you know that if you're expecting me to just be making tits and ass comments the entire time, probably won't be happening. Maybe the occasional inappropriate joke. But anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the layout of this table and all of the different ramps and shots. And so what I'll do is I'll go through that, go through the layout of the table, go through the modes, go through the wizard mode. We'll talk about all the different kind of things that you want to do on this table. And then I'm saving to the end specifically talking about the back glass, which right now I've got this shot of the camera laid out where you're just seeing the play field. But towards the end, I'm going to kind of do a special section talking about the back glass. And the reason why I'm kind of sectioning that off is because right now we don't know for the At Games 4KP if the back glass is actually going to work. Because to date, all of the Zen tables have been static back glass, and if that is the case, which right now the assumption is that it is, then that's kind of a bummer because it does eliminate a whole part of the game, which kind of sucks. But I'm going to talk about it anyway because it is still relevant for folks that are just playing on Pinball FX, or if you're playing on Pinball FX VR or any other format or platform like Visual Pinball as well. It's definitely something that needs to be discussed. So I'll talk about that. Like I said, I'll hold that to the end, and I'll do timestamps in the description so you can kind of jump to that. But for folks that are playing on the At Games 4KP, and if that doesn't apply to you, then you don't have to worry about watching that section. So, okay. Now that the housekeeping shit is out of the way, let's talk about the table. So what I'll do, as my normal process here, I'm going to go through all of the different shots and ramps and point out all the various things on the table so that you can have an idea of kind of like where the different shots are and what they do. So starting from left to right. Okay, so first shot here is this orbit shot that comes up here. And so they in most of the descriptions, it's called a loop more than an orbit, because generally speaking, an orbit, it comes all the way around and goes, and you can go all the way back. Here, it doesn't really work that way, but it's the leftmost shot. It's a shot here, and essentially it really does three different things, okay? if you look, there's 3 different lights here. There's a lab light, there's a deadhead light, and there's a lock light. Okay, so when the lab light is lit and you shoot the ball up here, the ball will orbit all the way around to this area here, which are the bumpers, and this is also called the monster lab. So that when that light is lit, that's where the shot's going. When the deadhead shot is lit, there's kind of a blocker up here, and what happens is shoot it up here, and it's going to end up into these deadhead rollovers over here. And of course, when lock is lit, this is where you shoot to lock the ball in here, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. So that is your outmost kind of left orbit shot. The next one here is the Bony Beast ramp, okay? And this ramp has, again, a couple of different things. It's starting with this. There's a light lock here where it looks like Elvira is kind of holding this little chain here. When that is lit, you shoot the ball up this ramp, and that's how you light the lock over here on this lane. Okay, but the ramp itself is this big, bony beast. It's got a boner. And you shoot the ball here, and it wraps all the way around and comes down to your right flipper, and then you can, obviously if you get good at it, you can do a repeating shot over and over again. But this is also one of the main shots in the game. It's a jackpot shot, as you can see the jackpot light there, and then it is also one of the 6 tails that you have to complete as well, which again, I'll talk about those in more detail in a little bit. But this here is one where if you shoot it up here 3 times, that collects that Bony Beast, Eyes of the Bony Beast mode. In addition, there's also like a hurry up jackpot that uses this lane. Like I said, it's really just one of the main shots that you really want to get good at hitting if you want to get good at this game. Okay, so that is the Bony Beast. Okay, the next one here is the one we call the middle lane, and that's this lane right here, okay? And so if you see underneath, it's really hard to tell, but there is a red light underneath with an eyeball. That's actually your extra ball light. So whenever you light extra ball, doing various things throughout the game, this is where you shoot it to collect your extra ball. This is also a easy shot to get up here if you want to collect your deadhead rollover lanes. That's one of the shots to get that in there as well. So not the most important shot, but again very important because you can that's where you collect the extra ball. And if you have a strategy where you're trying to collect as many deadheads and get your multiplier up, that's a shot that you want to be able to learn and do at will whenever you can. Okay, right ramp, that's this ramp right here. So this ramp also very important, one of the key shots in the game. This one here does several different things. It lights your spider hole, and that's this run right here. That allows you to spin the spider on the back glass, which is that mode I had mentioned earlier, which I'll talk about a little bit more towards the end. But this is how you light the spider spin. You shoot the ball up here, and then you can collect the spider spin in a drop hole right here. But this lane also, it's kind of like if you're familiar with Addams Family and the bear kick lane, this lane is very much like that, because this lane accumulates throughout the game and it awards you different awards. That sounds repetitive, but you get different awards for the number of times that you hit it. So for example, the first 3 times that you hit it, you get your bonus holdover from for your end of ball bonus. Okay, then at 8 hits, it's extra ball, and then there's other awards along the way. I think after you get to like 30, it's another extra ball. So this is again another important shot, because again it lights your spider, and you can just keep collecting awards and up to two extra balls for this lane. Let's see, just checking my notes here. And there's also, this lane has something called a web value that increases with every time you hit it. It starts off really low, but again, if you're hitting this shot a lot, it increases. I think it starts at like 25k, and then slowly increases the more you hit it. Okay, so those are basically the ramps and the loops. There's one other small lane here. It's right underneath this, the bony beast, probably, pretty much aligned with Elvira's body here. This is a lane that shoots out here and actually feeds towards the crate here, or towards this little dagger hole. My personal recommendation is don't shoot for this, because it really doesn't serve much of a purpose, and it's kind of a dangerous shot, and it doesn't really do anything, other than if you're feeding the ball to the crate. But the crate is a much easier direct shot than trying to loop it around here, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to shoot for that lane, but it is a lane that's there, just to keep that in mind. All right, so other things to note about this in terms of shots. Okay, so starting over here, there is a 3 spot target bank over here for cast a spell. You light all 3 of these, and I think the first time you just have to light it once, and it lights this red arrow here called the spell. This is basically your kickback. So if you have this lit, the ball comes down here, it's a ball save and kicks it back out. I believe after you light it the first time, then subsequently you have to light it like twice, 3 times just to get that. So I don't really tend to go for these shots a ton. Maybe I should more. It'll maybe save me some bad drains, but it in and of itself, it just feels like a very dangerous shot of where the ball kind of can ricochet and end up. But not to say it's something that this is definitely something that you'll kind of hit and collect accidentally, along the way. Okay, but that is cast a spell, and this is how you light the kickback on the left lane. And the kickback is only this lane, not over here. Okay, leaper targets. So there is a 1, a 2, and a 3, and you see these little frog toys here. So those are the leapers. Okay, so these leapers again do a couple of different things. If you hit 1, 2, and 3, all of them, that is one of the modes here, or one of the tails to complete. So if you hit all 3, that completes a tail. And then as you're playing the game, if you hit them enough times, I believe if you hit for the first time, it's like 5, it starts a mode called Leaper Mania, which that is a mode where you can get points, but you can also get an extra ball in that mode as well. So the leaper shots are pretty important shots, but again, these are not something that you want to go for intentionally, because these are also drain monsters. And from what I understand, I've never played this game in this pinball table in real life, but apparently in real life, you hit these and it's an instant drain. It's a little bit more, in VPX where I'm playing it here, they're a little bit more forgiving, but something to be careful of. But these are definitely things that get hit a lot just in the course of playing, and you're trying to hit the ramp. I mean, look, there's one on either side of the ramp. So if you're going for this ramp and you miss, chances are like you could hit this one and have it deflect off of this one, and you get both like right away. And then this one here, same thing. So these ones will get hit, throughout the course of play regardless. So you really very rarely you should have to aim for them. Okay, there's a secret passage. So if you shoot the ball up here, up this lane, but you do kind of like a half shot, it will actually fall in behind the head of this bony beast here. And you'll get a notification on the DMD. It's a secret passage shot, and it'll actually light one of your tails for you, which is pretty good. But again, it's not something that you can really like aim for and try for. It just kind of happens by luck, in my opinion. You shoot it up here, it hits something, and it kind of loses power on its way around, and then kind of falls through. I've only hit it, maybe like once or twice in my play of this, but it is there. Okay, your deadhead lanes. So I talked about these a little bit before, but these here are 3 lights, 3 lit lanes, and these are where you collect your deadheads. Now, one of the modes here is Return of the Deadheads. That you get that mode by collecting all 3 of these lights. And these lights can move using your flipper buttons, but they only cycle from left to right. You can't cycle them back the other way. So if the ball's bouncing around here and it's going to the middle, cycle the unlit light to where you want the ball where the ball is going to go. And if you miss it, unfortunately, you have to go all the way back around really quickly, and probably by then you've missed your chance. But this is where you collect your deadheads. Now, the deadheads can end up being quite a bit of points in and of themselves, because not only are you using them to light one of your tails, but also this increases your bonus multiplier. So every time you do it, you start at 1x, obviously, then you get up to 2x, all the way up to 8x, and then when you reach 8x, that's also an extra ball. So something worth doing. But when you think about that, so you have to get it up there 8 times. Times 3, that's 24. So you really have to collect 24 of these heads within a single ball in order to get your extra ball and get up to your 8x bonus. So it is kind of a lot, but if you can master, like we talked about, this shot up here gets right in there, and of course this shot here, it can get there, but the deadhead has to be lit in order for it to make it into that those lanes. So this is really the most consistent shot to get it in there and collect those. Okay, so those are your deadheads. Oh, and the other important thing to note about the deadheads is for everyone you collect, it's 25,000 points that then increases by 25,000 for each subsequent one. So for the first deadhead, it's 25, then it's 50, then it's 75, then it's 100. And those amounts actually stay throughout the whole game. So the more heads you collect, the more that builds up. Now, from what I understand, it tops out at around 2.5 million points. But imagine if you got it that high and every deadhead you collect is 2+ million points, that can be really, really lucrative if you get all those. So not a bad idea to aim and shoot for those fuckers. Okay, so those are the deadheads. Next one here, going down, it's the skill shot hole, and that's this little knife here. So as anyone that plays pinball knows, skill shot is when you plunge the ball, have it come straight up and land right in here. So when the 4KP version launches, I can almost guarantee you that it will be a consistent, you figure out where on the plunger you pull back to and let it go and get it to sink in there. What I'm very likely going to do when the game launches, a follow-up video with some gameplay, and I'm definitely going to figure out where the sweet spot is for the skill shot so that you can hit that every single time. From what I understand, in the real pinball table, it's pretty consistent as well, where if you get, I don't know the exact spot, but if you pull it back to a certain spot, you can land it in there like 90% of the time. So that is the skill shot. Oh, and the skill shot is 250,000 to start, and then it adds 250,000 for every subsequent one. So it's, again, 250, then 500, then 750, then 1 million, et cetera, for every time you get it. So if you end up getting a lot of extra balls and you do a lot of ball locks, like that can add up pretty quick if you get good at hitting that skill shot. So that could be pretty lucrative in terms of points. Okay, the crate. The crate is this son of a bitch right here in the middle. It probably is the easiest shot in the game, which is good because it's also one of the most significant. So, as we mentioned, there's a ramp here, and then there's the crate, okay? And all three of those all have the jackpot lights. These are the 3 most important shots on the table. Learn them all. These are the ones that you're going to be hitting the most, and you're going to want to be able to hit the most. But the crate here, we'll talk about it in a little bit more detail when we get through the modes. But essentially, what it is there's these red eyes that you see here. There's 4 sets. You light all the red eyes, and then that opens up this front of the crate, which is almost like a giant trap door. You shoot the ball up in there, and then it'll start a multi-ball mode. But it's also where you collect jackpots during certain multi-balls, and it's one of the key shots in the wizard mode as well. So all stuff we'll talk about in a bit, but that is the crate. Again, a very, very important shot. Very easy shot to hit as well. I think it only gets a little bit tricky when you're trying to hit it with the ball on the move. Like if you've got the ball cradled on your flipper, it's a super easy shot to hit. But when the ball is in motion, that makes it a little bit tougher because you tend to hit this leaper, there's posts on either side of it. You get to hit those posts a lot. So it can be a little bit frustrating because it's like, it's right there and it's a huge, target. But, it can be a little bit frustrating at times when you're forcing, the shots. Okay, the crate, jet bumpers, we talked about this a little bit here, but this is also known as the lab. So these jet bumpers here, you basically hit them a certain number of times to activate your lab mode here, which we'll get to in a little bit. Spin the spider ball capture, that's this purple arrow right here, and again, you can't really see it, but underneath the ramp there is a ball capture right there. So that one there, it's pretty easy. You can again shoot it straight on with this flipper, but also if you have like a, you can light plunge. Let's say if this is lit and you are plunging the ball, you can actually do a soft plunge and have the ball come up here and then roll back down and in the spider hole. And then a lot of times when the ball ejects out of the skill shot hole, it'll come over here and it can fall down in as well. So again, we talk about this. There's a ramp here that's really hard to see, but the ball comes down this way through the ramp a lot and will fall down in that spider hole. So there's two different ways to get into that spider hole: the direct way and then the indirect way, kind of either through a soft plunge or having it bounce back down that ramp. And that again starts the little mini mode on the back glass, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And that awards, there's various awards that we'll talk about. And then the last thing here is this right out lane, and there's a little light here that's called the telepathic power, which is a funny joke, I guess. That is basically just a random award, and unfortunately it's on a fucking out lane, so you only get the award when you're draining, which is a little bit frustrating. It's kind of a kick in the ass booby prize, no pun intended. Maybe a little bit intended, but yeah, so you hit that rollover and then you'll get a random award. Usually it's points, could be as much as 250,000 points. Could even be a light extra ball as well. So there's different awards you get there. But like I said, unfortunately you only collect it when you're draining. Okay, so that's it. Those are all the kind of main things to know about the table. One thing I should probably mention too is like this ball lock. The ball lock actually, the balls end up locking in this coffin here, and this coffin opens up to eject balls at various times during the game. If you, let's say, sometimes when you lock, it'll reset the ball over at your plunger, but sometimes it'll eject from here, so it's something to keep an eye on. And of course, when you get to multi-ball, for the coffin multi-ball, the balls will eject from that coffin. So that's the only probably other item on the table that I had not mentioned. But that's it. That's the layout of the table. That's all the different shots and the different items on the table that you need to know. So let's talk now about modes. Okay, so on the modes, they're also called tails in this, and there are 6 of them. There is Night of the Leapers, Return of the Deadheads, Terror from the Crate, Monster Lab, Eyes of the Bony Beast, and finally Stiff in the Coffin. Okay, so the point of the game is to complete all 6 of these modes in order to start a kind of a hurry up in order to get to the wizard. So you don't just get the wizard by completing the modes. You complete all the modes, and then you get to this scared stiffometer hurry up, where you actually have to then collect all 10 levels of this. Then when you collect the 10th level, that's what starts the wizard mode multi-ball. So let's talk about the modes first, and then we'll get into the details of how you work your way up this and how you start that wizard mode. Okay, so Night of the Leapers is this one here. Touched on this already. Pretty straightforward, right? You've got Leaper 1, Leaper 2, Leaper 3. You hit all 3 of those spot targets in front of them, which are really just posts. Boom, done, collected. Night of Leapers is done. Return to the deadheads. Also, very simple. You get 3 rollover deadheads up here. You collect all 3. Boom. Deadheads is collected. Deadheads is done. Terror from the crate. Terror from the crate is these red eyes on top of the crate. When you light all of the red eyes, I mentioned this before, that front of the crate kind of opens or kind of unlocks. You shoot the ball up in there, and that starts the Terror from the Crate 2-ball multi-ball. So just starting that multi-ball, that collects the mode, and you're done in terms of the mode. Now, let's talk about the multi-ball itself. So the multi-ball itself is a 2-ball multi-ball, like I said, and the balls eject... I believe they eject from this eject hole here, the skill shot hole, right? And basically the point of this multi-ball is to shoot the balls back into the crate. So for every ball that you shoot back into the crate, it's 250,000 points. So while the points in and of itself is not a lot for one jackpot shot, it is so easy, and it's a 2-ball multi-ball, that you should be able to get a good 6, 7, 8, 10 plus crate shots for every multi-ball. And that, depending on, again, how many you get, if you could get 10, that's 2.5 million points. I know it seems like a lot, but it really is not that hard of a shot. You just have to, because it's only 2 balls, it's really just, controlling the balls, shooting them up in there. Now, the challenge that I have, and we'll see how the physics are with the 4KP, is like the ball, when you shoot the balls into the crate, you get the jackpot. Then they eject from the skill shot hole right next to the crate. And when they eject, the balls they bounce all over the place. So making sure that they don't bounce, because it's a very good possibility they bounce all over the place and they just come rolling straight down the middle. So that's probably the biggest thing you have to protect against. But I mean, if you can get the balls down here and get them under control on your flippers, that is a very easy shot, and you should be able to get quite a few of those. Now, as I mentioned, in order to start the multi-ball for this, you have to hit this crate, and each time you hit the crate, it lights the eyes. But for the first time that you light it, it's 1 shot hit, and that'll light the first set of eyes, and then subsequently 2, 3, and 4. So essentially it's 4 shots to hitting the crate, and then the 5th shot to go into the crate to start the multi-ball. Well, then after that multi-ball, in order to light it again, you have to hit it 2 times for each eyeball. So then it's 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 9 to open it up. And then after that, it's 3 times for every eyeball. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12, and 13 into the thing. So it doing that multiple times, it just gets harder and harder and harder as the game goes along. So it's something to keep in mind, that like some of those early ones that you start, don't waste them, because it just gets harder and harder to unlock that crate as the game goes along. Okay, but I believe that the number of shots, I believe it's 4, 8, 12, 16. I believe it tops out at 5 or 6 per set of eyeballs, which I think is like 20. Actually, it's 5. It tops out at 5. So that's essentially 20 hits and then 21 into the crate. So it does stop eventually, but thinking about that, having to hit the crate 21 times just to start the multi-ball, that's a lot. Okay, so that's crate multi-ball. The next one here, Monster Lab. So Monster Lab are the pop bumpers here, and this is very simple. Get the ball when it says lab here, you get the ball up around that loop and get the ball into the bumpers. And the first time around, you have to hit the pop bumpers. I believe it starts at 20. And then just like with the crate, for every subsequent time, it goes up. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but the first one is 20, and then it goes up from there. So you basically just have to get the ball in there and have it bop, 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 bop around 20 times. Now, you actually do get credit, excuse me, if you get the ball into the this skill shot eject hole, and it ejects over, it actually ejects and hits this pop bumper. So you actually do get credit for those, which can be helpful as well. Not a ton. Maybe you're getting like 1 or 2, but it does count towards that total. So that's the pop bumper. So again, you get that the initial 20, and then that will light that mode, or that tail. Next one, Eyes of the Bony Beast. That is this one here, the Bony Beast ramp. You basically just have to hit this ramp 3 times, and that collects your Eyes of the Bony Beast, which actually is really convenient because it leads to our last mode, and this is the kind of a main multi-ball mode called Stiff in the Coffin. And so Stiff in the Coffin, you have to lock 3 balls here, okay? And you have that green lock light. And how do you light the lock light? By hitting the bony ramp, the Bony Beast ramp. So if you just do the ball lock and lock 3 balls, that means you have to hit this ramp 3 times to get that. So just by trying to lock your lights, you're actually going to collect Bony Beast, and you're going to get to your coffin mode. Now, chances are you're going to shoot the Bony Beast a lot more than 3 times, because it's, again, a very important shot, and you can get all kinds of points and stuff with that, and jackpots and whatnot. But it's just really interesting. Like, if you do nothing but just complete modes, you're going to get that mode just by trying to unlock the balls, because you have to hit this 3 times to get 3 ball locks. So that so Stiff in the Coffin, you shoot the ball up here, it lights the lock, you shoot the ball up this ramp, up this lane, and it will lock the ball, and then you do the same thing over again. You plunge the ball, shoot the ball up this lane, lock it over here, and then do it a 3rd time. That will open up this coffin, and it'll start the Stiff in the Coffin multi-ball. So this is an interesting mode, and the wizard modes are a bit like this too. But when you start the Stiff in the Coffin multi-ball, you have to hit alternating shots. So basically, what you have to do, so when the multi-ball starts, these 2 ramps are both lit for jackpot, right? And so essentially what happens is the ball's going to come down, and let's just say it comes down here and you shoot it up this ramp, okay? Then this ramp will unlight, and this ramp will be the only one that's lit. And so the next jackpot, you then have to hit this ramp, and then vice versa. Then after you hit this ramp, then it's going to go back to this one. So you have to alternate back and forth in order to collect your jackpots. So if you hit this ramp first, then you have to hit this one, then you have to back to this one, then you have to this one. Now, the thing that's interesting about it, and makes it even tougher, is the fact that, like, if you are shooting for this ramp right off of this flipper, you shoot this ramp, it comes up here, you get your jackpot, but the ramp comes around and feeds right back down to the same flipper, okay? And you can try it, but trying to backhand up this next ramp, it's really tough, next to impossible, and chances are you're probably going to hit the leapers and drain. So what you need to do is kind of figure out your own strategy, whether it's doing little, nudge passing to the other flipper, or if you have like a pretty consistent shot that you can hit to get the ball over to your other flipper. But essentially, you have to hit this shot and then get the ball over to this flipper to hit that shot, and then vice versa, and change around. Now, you can, if you hit an unlit ramp, that actually increases the jackpot, but it only increases the jackpot by 10,000 points. So it's kind of not really worth it, in my opinion. But you can, if you get really good at just looping shots. I mean, it's so the jackpot shot, just so that I'm clear, it starts at 500,000 points, okay? And then for every one that you hit, it's another 10,000. So if you can hit, this shot, 5 times, you can add another 50,000 per jackpot. But to me, it's too dangerous and probably not worth it to try to go for the unlit lane to increase the jackpot. I would say only do it if you're super, super comfortable with just hitting the ramp over and over and over again to get it up, and then get up to 600 or 750,000, and then try for your alternating shots. But the other thing to keep in mind too is that it is a 3-ball multi-ball, so you are going to have 3 balls going. So one kind of method that I had seen is let's say if one of the 3 balls drains and you have 2 balls on each flipper, one thing that you can do, especially if you're good at hitting these ramp shots, is have the balls cradled on each flipper, shoot the first one up, right, and then when it's about halfway, you then shoot this one up, and then by the time this one goes up halfway, your other one's coming down, so you can kind of alternate the 2 balls back and forth to see if you can hit these ramps over and over again. So that's like one kind of method for doing it if you're really good at your timing and your rhythm of like, okay, this ramp, then that ramp, then this ramp, as the balls are kind of going in an alternating pattern. That seems really, really hard to do in my opinion, but there are obviously people who are really good at pinball that will probably be able to do it. Okay, so that is that's the Stiff in the Coffin multi-ball. So essentially, as I discussed, it's a 3-ball multi-ball where you just want to alternate your ramp jackpot shots. Okay, and that is what would be considered the main multi-ball mode of the game, because this is where you lock balls and yeah. Anyway, you guys get it. Okay, so you've completed all the modes. You've done your coffin multi-ball. Everything is lit. The very next thing that happens after you finish, and so a lot of times I do the Stiff in the Coffin last. So after that multi-ball kind of finishes and you're down to your last ball, the other 2 of the balls drain, you'll see this kind of leveled light here. You'll see this one, basically these lights just flashing upward, right? Basically telling you, all right, your next shot needs to be shot into the crate. Okay, so after you complete your 6 modes, your 6 tails, this will begin lighting up. You shoot the ball into the crate, and that will start this stiffometer mode. Okay, so this is a hurry up mode that basically has 10 levels here. So you can see them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 9, and then number 10 is Scared Stiff at the top. So you have to hit 10 jackpot shots in order to finish this mode and get to that final wizard mode. So what are the jackpot shots? So like with the crate multi-ball, the jackpot shots will actually alternate, but it now includes the crate as one of the alternating shots. So basically the way that it would work is you shoot the ball up in there, and it starts the scared stiff mode, right? And it starts down at level 1. So what you have to do then is hit a jackpot shot, whether it's one of the ramps or whether it's the crate, to collect number 1. And then you got to hit the next one to collect number 2, and you got to do it 10 times. Now it starts off, it's actually a hurry up mode and only gives you a 30-second time limit. But for every shot you hit, you do get an additional 3 seconds added to your time. So that helps, but it's still like, this is one of those ones where you got to be like right on it, because if you miss a shot, you could probably miss 1, maybe 2, but beyond that, you're probably not going to get all 10. And that's okay. We'll talk about that in a bit, but ultimately you want to just be on it. So essentially the way that it works is that, you'll start the mode, the ball will come down, and it'll be on this flipper. What you probably want to do from a strategy perspective is hit the crate first, okay? So the crate will be a jackpot shot. You hit that. And then after you hit the crate shot, the crate the jackpot light for the crate will unlight, but then the 2 ramps will be lit. So then you can hit either ramp. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So then you hit either ramp shot, and then the ramps go dark, and then you have to hit the crate. And then they alternate back and forth. You have to basically alternate between the crate, then ramp, then crate, then ramp, then crate, then ramp. And you have to do that back and forth 10 times. Now, the strategy would be to start for the first one. You want to do the crate first, because then it starts with crate for 1. Then it would be ramp for 2, crate for 3, ramp for 4, crate for 5, ramp for 6, crate, ramp, crate for number 9, okay? And then number 10, the number 10 shot is always a crate shot. And because the crate shot tends to be the easier shot between the crate and the ramp, that's why you want to start with the crate, because then even though you just hit a crate shot for number 9, you then get another crate shot for number 10. So that actually gives you the opportunity to hit more crate shots than ramp shots, which is an easier shot. So all of that said, the best thing to know is do the crate shot first for your first shot, and then from there it just will make your life a little bit easier, because you have to hit the crate more than you hit the ramps. But anyway, you hit all those shots, and let's just say you can hit them all right off the bat and do it all in 30 seconds. That will then kick off the wizard mode for this table, which is called Monster Multi-Ball, which is a 4-ball multi-ball. So I'll talk about that in just a second. But one of the things I want to note, though, and that's very helpful in this game, is let's just say you're hitting your jackpot shots, but you miss a couple and you come up short. And let's say you only get to level 6, okay? The good thing is the mode will end and you didn't complete it, and you won't get to wizard mode, and all of the tails will unlight and you have to collect all the tails again. But when you do that and you get all 6, now the tails in and of themselves, if you can recall, I mean, none of them are really all that hard. Probably the hardest one is the multi-ball, coffin multi-ball. So they're not that hard to do, and you can easily get through them again, somewhat easily get through them again. But the great thing is you do get them through them all again, and you get to the scared stiff mode, it actually will pick up where you left off. So you won't lose all your progress. So if you got to 6, you'll start at 6 the second time that you go through it, which is really helpful. So then from there, you then only have to hit, your final 4 shots. So that is really helpful. So just keep that in mind. If you don't get it the first time, it's okay. You'll pick up where you started off the next time you get to the mode. Let's see, just checking my notes here really quickly to make sure I covered it all. Yeah, that's really it. So just completing those 10 shots gets you to your Monster Multi-Ball. So now Monster Multi-Ball, like I said, is the wizard mode for the table, or one of the wizard modes for the table. And when you get to that mode, you get 5 million points just for starting the mode, which is really, really, for this table, that's a lot. And then this mode lights all 3 of the jackpots, so the 2 ramps and the crate. All of those are lit, and they are all worth 1 million points each. So based on all of the other multi-balls where it's 250 or 500k, this is a much more lucrative multi-ball mode in order to rack up your points. And this is what you want to get to in order to get a high score on this table. It's almost a must to get to this wizard mode. And you can say that, I know, for pretty much any Williams, Bally Williams table. Get to the wizard mode, that's where you're going to get the super high scores. Definitely true for this one here. Because a 1 million points per shot, especially 1 million points for every crate shot. If you can get really good at the crate shot, I mean, this is a 4-ball multi-ball. You can be just drilling balls into the crate over and over and over again. So definitely huge opportunities for fucking points in that mode. Let's see. And that's pretty much it. Like, there's really not a lot. I know it's like a wizard mode, and usually there's like a lot of shit going on, but it's really not. It's like you got 3 jackpots, 4 balls, have at it, man. Drill your balls into Elvira as much as you can. See, who said there wasn't going to be sexual innuendos jokes? Okay, anyway, so that's really it. That's everything you really need to know about this table, man. Getting all the modes, getting to the multi-ball, and really maximizing your multi-balls. Like you could say this for a lot of tables, it's true for this one as well. all the points are in the multi-balls, whether it's the crate multi-ball, whether it's the coffin multi-ball, or whether it's the wizard mode. That's where all the points are to be had, and that's what you really want to focus on. Okay, so that covers the basics of the table. Now, there's one other aspect of the table that I want to talk about that I'm just going to take a minute to adjust my camera because I want to point it at the back glass to talk about the spider mini game mode. Okay, so the spider mini game mode is something that is on the back glass, so I'm adjusting the camera up to focus on Elvira on the back glass here. Okay, so on the back glass, you'll see that there is a spider. And when you get to the spin the spider mode, okay, which is, well, it's just out of frame here, but that's the ball capture that we talked about, okay? So there's the spider, and you can see that there's a red arrow, and you see all these pictures all around here. So when you get to that mode, this spider starts spinning, and you hit the flipper to stop the spider on all these different items, okay? So really quickly running through the items, right? You have the 3 eyeballs here, okay? The 3 eyeballs, when you collect all 3, that actually lights an extra ball for you. So they're obviously super, super important, but you have to collect all 3, okay? The skulls, these 2 skulls here, those are deadhead, that basically spots you a deadhead. The light jackpot is exactly what it says, lights jackpot. You get that jackpot by shooting it up the bony beast ramp, okay? Double trouble is 2 times playfield scoring, so this can be a ton of points in and of itself, and I believe that lasts for, I think it's like 25 seconds. Okay, the scared face guy right here, that is a beat the crate mode. That is a mode where you basically just are trying to hit the crate as many times as you can, and that gives you a number of points depending on, multiplied by where the light is on the scared stiff meter at the time that you hit it. So it's a hurry up mode that you can get a little bit of points there. Okay, there is this coffin here. This one here either lights your lock at your coffin, or if it's already lit, it actually gives you a free locked ball, and it also extends the coffin multi-ball time that you have. So the next time you get the coffin multi-ball, you'll have it for a little bit longer, which is good. The orbs, those are these crystal balls right here. That is the telepathetic power. So that is basically a random award. You get either one of those. The electricity kind of antenna lab thing here. This one here credits you, I think it credits you about 5 bumps to the bumpers. It basically just gives you credit towards completing the monster lab. This guy right here with the big feet, that is the boogeyman, and that starts a boogeyman boogie where every shot on the table is worth 10k. Not super lucrative, but it's fine. This one here is the crate. This extends crate multi-ball, which again gives you a little bit more time for crate. We talked about eyeballs. This here is the leaper. This actually instantly starts the Night of the Leapers, or Leaper Mania. And in Leaper Mania, if you hit I believe the first 5 leapers, that'll also award you an extra ball, which could be good. This one here is the Bony Beast. That's the Bony Beast's face, and that one there is that's a hurry up mode where you just have to hit that lane for the hurry up value, the Bony Beast lane. And that's all of them. And so there are 16 total things here. Okay. So one thing to note though is you can only collect every item once. Once it's lit, if you land on it again, you get jack squat. You fucking get nothing. You get totally screwed, which I don't like, but it is what it is. But the point of this eventually is to light every single item on here. If you were able to light all 16 of these, you actually start what I would call a super wizard mode, which is called Spider Mania, where it's kind of fucking crazy. The spider will actually spin and spin and spin, and it'll actually re-award you every single item on the wheel again. So you will get the 3 eyes for the extra ball. You'll get the extra deadheads. You'll get the jackpot lit. You'll get double trouble lit. Everything is awarded all at the same time. In addition to that, it then starts a 4-ball multi-ball where everything on the table is lit. And so one of the things to really keep in mind is, like, again, these, the jackpots are lit. You can get, because of the double trouble, you get 2x scoring for the first 25 seconds of that 4-ball multi-ball. So you can get a shit ton of points just doing that multi-ball and getting to that mode, having everything double scoring, and then you can hit jackpots. Everything is lit up. So so that is really, really, really lucrative if you can get to that point. I got to tell you, though, probably pretty hard. I mean, 16, and then it's kind of a game of chance because you have to, like, time up the spider and stop it yourself. There are no guarantees, so that is definitely the hardest mode to get to on the table, but it's definitely possible. So, anyway, so that's the spider. As I said, on the 4KP, I don't think that this is going to be a thing, and it's unfortunate because it then eliminates a whole part of the game for you by not having it, which kind of sucks. So if they don't have it now, hopefully they fix it and add it later. But for those playing on, Pinball FX or Pinball FX VR, definitely something that you want to try to work on is work out the timing of when you hit the button, where does the spider stop? Okay, do you need to, if you hit it when it's here, does it actually stop like 2 or 3 after? Get that timing down, because if you can light all 16 and start that 4-ball multi-ball, that is fucking points galore. Okay, so last thing I wanted to talk about are extra balls. So there are a lot of opportunities for extra balls in this game. So as I mentioned, the 3 eyeballs gives you an extra ball, and that, again, lights extra ball, which is collected via this ramp here. Other extra ball opportunities include this web loop. So this ramp right here, the right ramp, if you hit this ramp 8 times, that will light extra ball as well, and then it does it again at 30. So like I mentioned, this is a lot like that bear kick ramp on Addams Family. So it's cumulative throughout the game, and every time you hit it, it counts up. So keep that in mind. 8 and 30 give you extra balls. Starting Leaper Mania, if you squish 5 leapers, you get an extra ball just for the first 5. After that, it's only 250k, so you can only get the extra ball during Leaper Mania once, but it's worth grabbing. You hit 6 million points, you get a replay. That's an extra ball. Advancing the bonus multiplier at the Deadheads, you get up to 8x. That's an extra ball. You can get an extra ball through the telepathetic random bonus. So I think that covers all of the opportunities for extra balls, but there's a lot of them. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that there is a limit to 4 extra balls at a time. And so you want to keep that in mind. Don't collect all your extra balls at the same time, because it will stop at 4. So definitely spread them out across your game as much as you can. Now, though, jumping back to the Deadheads, if you can get that 8x, that extra ball for 8x is actually something that you can collect for every single ball. So you can, if you're able to do that, you can get an extra ball every single ball that you play, if you can get up that 8x multiplier. So anyway, that is all I had for this one. So I hope this was informative. I am very much looking forward to this game launching in a couple of days here on Pinball FX and all of the various Pinball FX platforms or Zen platforms. If there was anything I missed, as per usual, let me know in the comments. Like I mentioned, when the game launches, I'm going to be putting up some videos for some initial impressions and some gameplay. Hopefully I'll pick up a couple of tips and tricks that I can share in terms of, like, okay, how to consistently get the skill shot. And yeah, just looking forward to this one. So as always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I appreciate all of the positive feedback I've gotten. Hopefully you guys are learning something from these, and like I said before, I'll keep making them if you guys keep watching them. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you later. Bye.